Boom, we are alive, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tio in the Arcane Bear. What a wonderful day to be in the markets it is. Hats off to Elon Musk, or as I like to call him now, ELONG, because he knows how to pump a token, that's for sure. Now, one of the really interesting parts about today's news is that you will find out very shortly that even though they filed with the SEC today, the Securities Exchange Commission, they actually were buying Bitcoin back around January 23rd at the previous area of the secondary test. And although it looks like one of the reaccumulation ranges that we were watching just previously may have been invalidated by today's current spike, it doesn't invalidate the reaccumulation phase. It just actually makes it into a different schematic. So with that in mind, one of the things that I think is important to notice during the study is to remember, I've said this a few times, that when we're hunting, things look different out in the wild. So here is Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. Now, I had thought we were going to turn down here and go to around the $3,000, $34,000 area. But we've broken above our previous areas of resistance here at 42,000, which is quite nice. Obviously, very bullish. And what's nice about this sentiment is even though it's not the accumulation pattern we were looking for, it looks like this is the one we might be getting. So this is reaccumulation schematic 3. And if we compare these two, take a look at some of the similarities. Here, now we could make some conjecture too that this was actually the first run against the resistance. And this was a break above the creek. And we can also make some conjecture here that we're about to see schematic 3, which does something like this, a backup phase just above the top of the previous automatic rally and buying climax effectively. So when we're in the middle of a bull market, one of the things I have been saying for multiple weeks now, regardless of if we got the schematic wrong, is to assume the bias is bullish and to accumulate. I've been buying more Bitcoin and more Ethereum every chance that I get because we are in the middle of the bull market. And in the middle, maybe even just a little bit tad before the middle, like 5/12 before the middle of the bull market, there's a lot of momentum still left to come. And the next phases are usually kind of melt your face off like Slash guitar solos. We're just like, oh, no way. Every day, it would just X over X gains. And that's where we start to get into pure euphoria. And that's also where we'll be looking to take some of our profits. Now, one of the important parts about the bull market is to understand that there's not like an altcoin season this time. You have a lot of bigger investors and they're smarter. So hats off to everyone who got into Avalanche. This is one of our big tech team's favorites, We've been screaming from the top every time you guys ask me, if we had $1,000, what would you put it in? I kept saying Avalanche. And in the last, 10 days, Avalanche has gone up over 183%. They now have a cross-chain bridge between Ethereum and Link and a few others, so you can now effectively run DeFi on Avalanche seamlessly, and you can transition back and forth between the two. Avalanche is a game changer, and I stand by that sentiment, but let's go back to Bitcoin just for fun, because Avalanche went up 183% in the face of Bitcoin's move up. Again, as well, it's important to recognize those industry leaders, because even though there is a change over, I guess, to some degree, and we're recognizing, I think a lot of people are starting to lean into Bitcoin as a collateral, that the rest of the sector here is not done developing. And then from a venture capital perspective, there's a lot of room to play here. And we know from a venture capital perspective, we're playing with asymmetry. So although there is volatility both to the up and downside, we limit that volatility, at least in our exposure, so that way when things happen, they could go to zero, or they could end up being worth 10 or 100 or maybe even 1,000x a position. So Avalanche was a perfect example of that. Back here in the early of December and November, we've been saying Avalanche guys, and here you can see we're already at a 10x for some of our initial entries, although I did not get most of my entries off until around $6. So big moves for Avalanche in the last 41 days, approximately a 10x in 41 days. So congratulations to everyone who listen to the tech team, even though this is not financial advice. Hopefully you guys do your own homework. But there's also a great example to go over, which we'll look at next. So this reaccumulation schematic, at least in my mind, appears to be a lot more like schematic 3 now that we have broken above the box. And this is really important, guys, because again, I was expecting a more common reaccumulation pattern, something like this, where we hit a run into resistance and then come falling back down. And we didn't get that. So when we see a quick bias change and we actually break above the box, this is what we're looking for now, is schematic reaccumulation number 3, something like this. So we may not go back below $40,000 ever again. Now, again, when you're studying, the important part is to come to your own conclusion, guys. The reason why we do these videos daily is so that you understand, A, not always right. I don't always know exactly what's going on, but I'm willing to defend my position by at least showing my homework and trying to share with you that process. I think one of the important parts here is not always being correct, but having the strategy that works over the long term. And so far, we've got it right. We're in the bull market. If you haven't noticed behind me, and if you're new to the channel, if you see green, we're in a bull market. If it goes red, that means I've changed my sentiment, but we're still green. So regardless of if we go back down to 33,000 or not, or if we just accumulate back to the $40,000 area, the bias has not changed. And I think that's a really important part for the new investor. Again, guys, remember, the sickness of the new investor and the new trader comes from the lack of education and over emotional trading. And the way to create a healthy environment, or the cure for that, is by educating yourself, studying, and that way when you walk out on your portfolio in the day, your education can walk in and take over. So if you find yourself adventurous and like trying new things, and join the Arcane Bear Den and the family by going to the links below and giving it a shot. arcanebear.com/private. We produce educational PDFs like this, and we have a very strong community of almost 600 people, actually over 600 people now, that are constantly working to help one another through this learning process, as we are all at varying stages of this education, and the best way to do that is by working together. So very, very fun and very, very exciting times. Let's take a look at Ethereum, and I want to focus on Avalanche a little bit afterwards. So Ethereum is in another really kind of beautiful backup phase here. A little bit tenuous out of the box here. We did hit our 1530 mark very beautifully here, and then we turned around quite quickly. I believe what we're witnessing is the first stage of our automatic rally here. So we had our shakeout, and I believe we're seeing the automatic rally. And I think we're going to get a little bit of accumulation in this box. Now, again, we could see a break above the box, very similar to what we just saw with Bitcoin. And it's important to keep that in mind, because we actually might see another kind of rising channel through the box here. And that's really important to remember, is that the schematics are like following footprints when you're hunting an animal in the wild. Here's schematic number 3. Here's schematic number 1 with a deeper spring. Here's schematic number 2 with no spring in phase C whatsoever. Here's schematic 4, which is a reaccumulation after decline, which is one of the weaker signals. And ladies and gentlemen, what we just witnessed for Bitcoin, I believe, is one of the strongest reaccumulation signals that we can see. So this, to me, very clearly for Bitcoin and probably the rest of the ecosystem, is going to reveal a move very, very quickly upwards of $80,000. Now, the next, we'll probably get a nice reaccumulation range somewhere between 60 and 50. Hopefully it's a tight one, much like these previous trading ranges back here. We're going to find out. But a lot of the exchanges now are limiting your ability to find exposure through longs, because they just don't have the liquid capital on either side of the trade to provide those longs. So be wary of that. Also, guys, for those of you that use Binance or other applications, Binance specifically, if it goes down, you can also use the Binance app. I know a lot of you guys are from America, but just as a heads up, you can use the application and not have any downtime. For instance, I'm actually using the TradingView application, separate from going through the URL slug and not actually having to type in TradingView. This works even when the markets are overloaded. So keep that in mind. Actually running their services is a much better way to go. So, awesome. I was wrong. Well, not wrong. I just was invalidated here, and I think we're seeing a schematic 3 instead of what I thought we were witnessing was more of a schematic 2. But that's great. Actually, I'm really happy about that, because this is the most bullish of reaccumulation schematics. So I believe very quickly Bitcoin is going to run 80, 100, $280,000 probably, maybe even 300 something before we totally peak out into totally insane madness. Okay. Let's move on and then finish off with Ethereum and some other of our plays here today. I believe Ethereum again is in the final backup phases before it goes on a blitz run. As you can see, the Ethereum futures did not negatively affect the price at all. In fact, it went up. That's great. And again, we want to watch this kind of trading range here really carefully, because if we start to close above this box, that's hyper bullish for Ethereum as well. And that's actually what we had seen with both Cardano. If you look here, where we started to have this very similar rising wedge or rising accumulation channel through the box. And right as you got to the top of the wedge, or the top of the channel, very similar to ETH here, right when we get to the top of the channel, we start to create a backup phase here. Hyper bullish. I think we're going to $2,600 Ethereum once this backup phase finishes. And again, Cardano, if you notice that backup phase, it started to go ballistic afterwards. And not only that, we're now closing above a new trading range for Cardano as well, which is, again, hyper bullish. So for those of you that didn't know, we're in a bull market, ladies and gentlemen. You could literally throw money anywhere at this point and become profitable. Monkeys playing darts could become profitable investors at this point. So what we'd like to do is pick our winners wisely. That's why when we went over Avalanche over the last few months, we said, hey guys, this is from our tech team. It's super important to keep an eye on. And remember that there's no like clear answer, like if Bitcoin goes up, will X and X go sideways? They're kind of an irrelevant relationship right now, because even that used to be more the case back in 2017. But now when you see Avalanche clearly outpacing Bitcoin, even while Bitcoin is going up, I think it's a sign of the times that you have a much more clearly identified investor here. That's not like, oh, Bitcoin go up, other things go down. That's a really layman's term to think about it. So right now what we're doing is we're definitely watching a newer, higher level investor show up, where if there's limited supply, just like there was an Avalanche here, once it gets above the box, and look at this parabolic move come out here, it just starts to explode. So again, I think Cardano is going to be very similar here, and you're kind of witnessing some of this change of character, where its move up is becoming more and more vertical. There's a few others like that we'll go over in the private den. So we have our Bear Forge with Baloo tomorrow, so keep an eye on that. If you're in the private den, our webinar will be at around 10 a.m. for all of you guys. So again, when you see these changing characteristics and these parabolic-like curves come in, you can expect a big move to come out of the market. And that's important because right now in the middle of the bull market, this is when things start to get face melty. And that's super, super important to keep in mind. Aave started to do something very similar as well. And for those of you that have been following us, you'll recognize this pattern that just seems to repeat time and time again. The rising wedge, not wedge though, because it's a pattern trade, but let's call it that for now, I guess. The reaccumulation to the backup phase, and then a massive explosion. And what seems to be this kind of vertical change in character. So I think right now, if we see another big rip up for Aave here and hit this parabolic curve, we're witnessing the very, very fun parts of the bull market. We're literally, you just start shoveling capital into the big plays, the DeFi sector, like we've been recommending, or well, not recommending, but at least I've been adjusting to in my portfolio. Back in August, I'm like, well, DeFi is the place to be. So that's where I'm going to start throwing capital. So clearly you can see why that was a good idea. At least I feel that was a fairly clearly good idea. And again, you might be witnessing a change in character here for Aave, for Cardano. You very clearly here for Avalanche, where it just started to go vertical and parabolic. Now, you might see a diminish in these and reaccumulation ranges start to form, again, because of the potential of Bitcoin here. But I think we're just going to witness a schematic 3. So sadly, no reaccumulation at 33,000, but that's fine. Just reaccumulation here at 40,000. So again, perfect highlight of the fact that I'm not always right. That there are times to go here where what we're doing is we're trying to hunt an animal in the wild. I'm like, yeah, it's like a 10-point buck. We get there, it's a 12. Great, it's even better. This is even better. I'm glad I was wrong. This is amazing. So I see two of you guys just dropped super chats in there. I'm just going to wait until the end of this kind of conjecture here as we're close to the end of the first part of the episode today. So again, guys, even though Bitcoin is the collateral layer and we can see these similar aligning rising wedge breakouts and the potential that they move here before you get a much larger reaccumulation pattern, I think we're going to witness that again in Ethereum, and it's going to break out. Very similar to what we saw with Bitcoin back here. We're going to get a nice run up to 2,600 for Ethereum, which puts us significantly higher. Well, not significantly higher at this point. We're at up 30%, another 40% pretty much from where we are today. I think we're very clearly easily get that. And as again, for those of you that are doing your homework, you can see the declining supply line, contrary to Binance's horrible education center. The declining supply line and the rising price is extremely bullish, not the opposite. You do not want an increasing supply line and an increasing price. That usually is what turns into distribution. That usually signals the end of the bull market. So keep that in mind. Finally here, Link, getting rid of some of the volatility here. I've kind of gone over this. It's very, very clearly full of kind of retail investor hands, not to come just because I don't have a better term, but there are a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm a Link Marine, or I'm a XRP Army, or whatever crap. I guess I'm a reverse avalancher. It goes straight up into the mountains. Thanks for Bear and Jerry for that one. These volatility spikes are trying to liquidate long positions quite often, or short positions in the play, and it's usually getting rid of kind of weaker retail investors' hands who don't know how to manage that risk. So I'm going to quickly answer the two super chats. Vishnu said for 10 euros, he says, if BTC will go higher, will Cardano go sideways? I kind of went over that already. Thank you for, and he says also amazing tutorials. I think this time is different. What you're witnessing is a disconnected market from Bitcoin's price effectively, and you're just witnessing pure supply and demand interest from these bigger institutional players as they take shotgun approaches. Jeff Snyder says, what is the volume chart on the side? Cheers, brother. Let's melt faces like Buckethead and Nuno. Awesome. Buckethead is another great guitar player. It's another one that we could fit in there besides Slash. This is the volume profile, and although there are people that might disagree with how important it is, I think it's very, very valuable to understand where the point of control is. As you can see, this red line that shows where the most volume of buying and selling has taken place here is an extremely valuable sentiment to understand. So if we look at Ethereum here, for instance, we can see that the buying line of control here was right through the center of our previous areas of resistance. So although you don't need it, because you can see where the middle of the trading range is, more or less, it's actually very helpful for those of you who want to become much better at understanding where we are in the market. So try to ignore people that speak so emotionally, because they're probably upset that they made a failed investment thinking that they knew what they were doing. Again, remember guys, the disease of the average and new investor is from lack of education and over-emotional trading. And the cure to that is to create the healthy environment, which is what we have done in the private bear group. So be sure to join the links, arcanebear.com/private, where you'll join hundreds and hundreds of other private family members that are working together. So Kelvin Casing says, what are your thoughts about late entry points for ADA, AVE, AVEX, etc.? Have they gone parabolic? Kelvin, this is a really good question, and I think it really looks into two parts. Number one is, how are you looking at the market? So for those of you that don't know, I really want you to take a look at this article, which is the best investors are dead. I made a video about it too. The best investors are dead. This was a very fantastic piece done by Fidelity. Now, one of the reasons why this is so important to understand is because, Kelvin, if you just make investments and walk away, that's how a lot of people have made the most money, is by just consistently accumulating and never really thinking about liquidating. So I'm just going to really quickly go over this. This is a customer account audit revealed that the best investors were either dead or totally inactive. So once they had built their portfolio and they had walked out on life and their portfolio walked in, they continued to do better. Often, again, that over-emotional trading is the sickness that you want to try to cure. So from a venture capital standpoint, accumulating even at abstract levels at this moment is smart. No, what's crazy is I bought Bitcoin at an all-time high of $1,000. Oh, crazy. How dumb was that to buy Bitcoin at $1,000? Like, who would have thought? Well, a few years later, doesn't really matter. Now 40 something times higher than that, right? So it's about the long-term ability to look into the future that will provide you the most stable way of understanding that question that you just asked there as well. So think in decades, and I think you'll do great. Gangadeep, $5 super chat says, can you please look into Utrust? So I know Utrust provides some services. What their token does, I'm not in all sure. Again, I'm going to very quickly just make some conjecture here, and I can feel already that the growth of it is probably irrelevant. It's not a DeFi sector play, but we'll take a look at it because you did ask and you dropped a super chat. So one of the things I do here to make a comparative analysis to understand these plays is I zoom all the way back to March, and I measure the growth that it's had since March. So it's actually looking pretty positive here, which is ridiculous. Utrust has actually been very, very bullish since March. So for instance, had you put $1,000 in even in June-ish, it'd be worth, let's measure that a little bit more cautiously. Let's give us some up, down term. If you put $1,000 in June, you'd be sitting on around $17,000. This is a great expressive venture capital. I don't know what Utrust does. The volatility in this market looks a little bit too much for me. So I would have to look more into why it's been so volatile. Whereas with Avalanche, I understand the players, I trust my tech team, and I know what these guys are capable of. Whereas I have no idea what Utrust is doing to have outpaced Avalanche in terms of growth. So I would definitely probably place my bets on things I know more about, but that's just me. Other than that, if you were already in Utrust and you're up to 1,700%, well, congratulations. That was a great little venture cap play. Ven cap for the win, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, a few more questions here. BTC is the most important to hodl. Again, the idea here, guys, is understand how VenCap works. When I was buying Bitcoin at $1,000, it was a VenCap play. Could have very easily gone to nothing. Still could. We could have some cataclysmic break in the code for some reason, and it could go to zero. It's still a possibility, so don't rule that out. This entire sector is basically venture capital still. It's all like baby brand new. We're just getting close to the point where, like, okay, you measure Bitcoin's 12 years old. Imagine what you were doing at 12 years old. You were a little like useless person for the most part. I mean, mind you, you were an amazing child, potentially, right? But in terms of like your ability to articulate very complex and well thought out ideas is just not there yet. So if you compare Bitcoin as a 12-year-old to a 12-year-old, and you can imagine that they might have some similarity of maturity, there's still things that can go cataclysmically wrong, and we're early. Now, I don't think that's the case, but at least for a good time, it's important to kind of reintegrate that understanding of time on deck. I think Nassim Taleb has some really great books around this too, where he talks, well, look at how long we've had chairs. And even though my chair swivels back and forth and I can lean backwards in it and it's got wheels instead of just 4 legs, think about how many chairs have had 4 legs and for how many thousands of years. A lot of the times when you find something like this, you're looking for that longevity in the way the tech has been built and its inability or its lack of change to rely on. So the further we go forward, the better that is. So for those of you guys that are asking about Theta, we are going to be going over Theta in our private group this week. So Blue and I hunted that out this morning. It looks good and it has some really nice qualities, but I'm going to save that for the private group just because that's the point of everything. So we can kind of partition the way we provide our content effectively. Let's see some more of your guys' questions here. I just started staking ADA today on Exodus. Congratulations, you're participating and playing around. Oh, yeah, I don't know if the internet's going choppy right now. You guys would have to check. Let's see here. Everything looks green over here. Let's take a look on the YouTube side of things. It says excellent condition over here, so I'm not exactly sure. Oh, I bet you if I pause this, that will actually make it a little bit better. Yeah, again, guys, I really don't care. There's a lot of the things like, oh, Cosmos at 9% APY on Exodus. Yeah, well, Avalanche APY on Binance is like 33%. 32.9%. So suck on that. I'm telling you guys, Avalanche, whatever. You do whatever you want. Avalanche. That's it. I just listen to my tech team. I shut the fuck up. They're way smarter than I am. I'm just repeating what they've told me. Avalanche. Okay. That's it. Leave it at that. You were good. No issues. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys. What is going to happen after ETH reaches 2,600 is probably going to hit another reaccumulation change and then go much higher. Also, guys, for Binance, remember, if you download the Binance app, you won't have those issues because it functions through the Binance backend. But going onto any URL slug, you're going to find server overload issues during those times. So be sure to download their app. And that's also why I use the TradingView app too. Is you just don't get those server lags. Awesome. Hey, guys, for the last little bit of today's episode, I'm going to try something out. You guys let me know how it goes. There's this new feature on Streamlabs, so tell me what you think here. I can add like music in the background. So tell me what you guys think if we add some alternative music in the background. Let's see, ambient. That way we can have like a little bit of tunes. Let's see how it works here. Let me know if you guys enjoy the music in the background while we're going through this. I'm trying to figure it out myself, It's kind of always a playground. Divayara Krishna. Man, your guys' names are fantastic. For those of you that don't know, Krishna's a gangster. In case anyone cared. Okay, let's see. Is this working? Yeah, okay. Let me know if you guys appreciate the music in the background for fun. We'll do a little bit of a longer live stream here today, and we'll just kind of hang out and chat through the day. So, again, for those of you guys, I probably should have went over this to begin with, but on Market Watch here, Mr. Musk, Mr. Elon Musk, $1.5 billion in Bitcoins in January. Could be the world's #1 digital asset for payment in the future. And we agree with that. Tesla also rose 1.18% after it revealed its purchase and regulatory filings with the SEC Commission. And here's what that regulatory filing looks like. The first fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021. Here's their identification. Deer Creek, Palo Alto, California. There were 998,000 shares, 160.5 billion. So these guys have an enormous amount of capital. I think they're sitting on $19 billion effectively, $16 billion it looks like as of to date. So that was around 10% of their entire portfolio. I love you too, Divya Krishna as well. Smash the like, he says. Guys, give us a thumbs up if you like this content. If you're enjoying today's episode, it'd be very helpful. Help other people find this important information later on down the road. So here's the Security Exchange Commission's filing from Tesla. And again, they purchased the shares of, or purchased Bitcoin in January and filed on this Monday. Now again, which this helped drive Bitcoin's price up around 11.63%. So note that they were not buying on the open market. They were likely accumulating back here, maybe even right the day before. He said Bitcoin, it was inevitable. They've got I think they've got 10 days to file with the SEC. So now that we're on this 8th, it was probably like the 28th of January. I do believe that legally you have to file within 10 days of your SEC stuff. Really appreciate that. Oh yeah, by the way guys, all this music is DMCA'd already, so no problems there. It's one of the... How low is the volume? Again, I don't know if this stuff is working. You guys let me know if you enjoy that like subtle bit of music in the background. Because I don't know. I'm just kind of playing around with Streamlabs here as we try to learn some new stuff. I like being able to go live. It's one of my favorite things to do. Again, for those of you that are just joining the episode, this is kind of what I'm looking at here for Bitcoin. Reaccumulation schematic 3. So I've changed my initial assertion from reaccumulation schematic 2 to reaccumulation schematic 3. Now, nothing wrong with changing. As soon as there's new evidence brought to the table, I'm happy to shift my mind. Can't hear the music. I don't hear it. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Maybe we'll turn it up a little bit. What about that? Can't hear it yet. You need to add the audio source. Oh, do I? Well, thanks, guys. I hear crickets. Yeah, there's tons of crickets here. Let's see. I don't know how to add it, maybe. See, this is for you guys. You can tell I don't know what I'm doing at all. What would I do? I would add a source. Media source, image of audio output capture. I have no idea. I only hear the wind. Add music source. Yeah, it's not in there. I don't see it. Input capture. Nope, still no music. Well, I'm not sure. Audio output capture. No. Media source. Maybe media source. No, that's MP4. Credit banner. Media share. No, none of these things. Crazy. I thought it would just automatically start plugging in via the channel's background stuff. Recently played, likes, dislikes. Log out, manage, show audio quality, output device. From here, playback. Well, guys, I guess I don't know what to do. I was kind of hoping you'd get that little bit of music in the background. It's kind of nice, actually. But if you can't hear it, I'm going to have to figure out how to do that later. Because I only hear God himself spitting knowledge. Well, if there is a God, he's speaking through me. It's not actually me. I'm a silly human should be audio output source. Okay, we'll take one more look here. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm going to try to always bring higher levels of audio output capture. Desktop audio. Let's see here. Don't worry, we're going to go over more charts here. I just figured because we're going to have a longer live stream today. Audio output capture, add source, add, select option, list is empty. Okay, well that didn't work either. Oh well, we tried. We'll just go back. Can't win them all, right? That's okay. Okay, so let's take a look at a few more of you guys' questions. Crickets are also good. Arcane Bear, Joel Naguna says, let the crickets play on. The sound of the forest is great. Turn the crickets up. I could take the mic. Man, you guys would be surprised. If I open the door right now, you'd be like, what the fuck? Oh my God, how are they so loud? BTC is going to the moon right now. Yeah, we're not that emotional. It's going to take a little bit here, but yeah, we could be going as high as upwards of $200,000 to $300,000 is my long-term guess. Guys, I definitely can't suggest enough. You want to do your study and your homework for a lot of the questions you're asking. Just asking me won't bring you any confidence, and you're still going to have the same over-emotional kind of sickness of the mind that you would get. So just overcome that. That's my best suggestion. Are you holding DGB? No, I moved everything else in my alternative portfolio and into the DeFi sector in August. I think I made that quite clear, but that's a different story. You could actually just play instruments at the end. That's a great choice. I could. I was playing the guitar last night, and I need to restring it, but it definitely sounds good. I'm surprised the music wasn't playing in the background. We're gonna have to figure out why that was, but it was quite nice. So Basta Beach says, I was just charting Wyckoff and reaccumulation on 88 for this video. Amazing info I've learned from you. Thank you. I appreciate hearing. I've gotten so much positive feedback from you guys about your learning process. I really appreciate that. Yeah, all this idea about, F2 will push the price down is just garbage nonsense, guys. I would totally ignore stuff like that. Any YouTuber who's shilling that has no idea how markets and accumulation work. I'm sorry to say it so bluntly, but it's the truth. Could the price of Bitcoin range between all-time high and 42 grand? Yeah, so what I suspect right now, due to this kind of new change in character and what appears to be a break above the creek already, is that we're going to witness the reaccumulation above the box now, very similar to what we see on a schematic 3. So keep that in mind. What strings do you use? Yeah, I have packs of strings here. I just haven't done it. Tell you what, I'll restring it tonight, so that way guaranteed I can play you guys some guitar tomorrow or something. I have a nylon, a steel string, and the Ouds use nylon and steel string, so it's 2. Bro, everybody should just hodl. Yeah, that's not true at all, Victor. Although it's true for a lot of new investors, is just to accumulate, and then when we get to the end of the bull market, which will be very clearly defined by supply coming in, to reallocate profits into businesses that you invest. There's a lot of people that know how to trade significantly better than you, Victor, and that's not always the case. And people want to actually educate themselves to learn where they are in the market. Otherwise, why would you be here watching a video to better understand the market if you didn't also want to know more? Because you just go about your daily life like, I'm just going to buy and hold and ignore it. Well, you can do that. You're not. So your opinion seems rather contentious with your own approach to what you're doing right now. So probably a useless opinion, because the better you study, back in June, if you go look at my videos, I was screaming, guys, this is the bull market. It's going to start like right now, 10 grand, 9 grand, 10 grand, because we saw these beautiful reaccumulation patterns after a spring, because I've clearly defined where we were in the market based off this methodology. So although buying and holding and accumulating during the beginning of a bull market and during the bull market is still a good play, unless you know where you are in the market, the rest of what you're saying becomes almost useless. Anyways, that's just my thoughts. I thought XRP will definitely not become the world reserve currency. No, that's not at all going to happen. The future is decentralized, and XRP is not decentralized at all, not even close. Where in Costa Rica are you? I live close to Uvita and Dominical. Beautiful area. The surf is fantastic right now. Thank you guys for asking. I'm more of a Jaguar fan myself. Yeah, I wouldn't. Again, I'm not a big one for moving into depreciative assets. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I buy like $5 bamboo shirts and then I wear them for years because I would rather put my money in appreciative assets instead of depreciative ones. But that's a different story. Could we see a bear market where financial industry keep up? Heard something about keeping 2 and 3K would be interesting for them. I don't understand that question. I think we're going to, after this bull market, we'll probably drop down to around $60,000 to $100,000 for another accumulation pattern itself. So Bitcoin will probably go much, much higher. We're going to see a blow off top. It's going to be signified by a very obvious distribution turnaround on a fairly large time frame, bigger than 30 to 40%. And then Glassnode here is going to provide us some really important data to look at here as well, which is going to be the amount of open supply that's coming into the market. Once we start to see supply come into the market, especially in big chunks, I'm going to be reallocating my thoughts on where we are in the market. But until then, as you can see, Bitcoin is just leaving the market. We haven't seen any new supply come onto the market since we were at $19,000 Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. Should I wait for the Bitcoin? If you don't already own assets, guys, and you're new to investing, the best thing to do is just buy to some degree, because then at least you have some skin in the game to go through the learning process. Otherwise, you're going to keep chasing something that you'll never catch. I don't know how many people are like, well, I thought about buying Avalanche and it was at $3 when we were looking at it the first time, and then it was at $7, and then it was at $12, and now it's at $15, and now it's $20, and then now it's at $32 for Avalanche, and I still didn't buy any because I was wondering when the best time to buy Avalanche would be, and because I was wondering too much about when it was, you just didn't fucking take the action and start investing. And most people never take the first footstep. Look, you're talking to someone who dropped out of school. I hitchhiked from Canada all the way through Central America with nothing but a hand drum and like $1,000 for 6 months. Learn how to take a fucking risk with your life and go play. I mean, otherwise you're never going to win, at least in my opinion. So that's my kind of arrogant answer to that one. Hopefully that helps. I've learned more on this channel in 2 months than I have anywhere else in years, says Brad. Man, Brad, thank you for that. I really appreciate that comment. Guys, I've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot to try to be able to produce this stuff that's valuable for you guys. So I really deeply appreciate when we get comments like that. So you guys are talking about Costa Rican rush hour traffic in San Jose is bad. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You gotta be good at driving to know that one. How do you know when supply is coming to or leaving the market? So as you can see here, this is a Glassnode. We pay, I think, $40 a month for this particular chart, but right now this shows the liquid supply change. And it also gives us a few more of our favorite metrics, which is the exchange percentage. And what you can see is a constant decrease in that the percentage of open Bitcoin on the market right now. It's been decreasing dramatically since August. If we scroll out to a little bit more of the time frame and include the 2017 bull market, you can see that as we hit the top, a lot of supply started to come onto the market. And since we hit our previous spring, the Bitcoin supply has only gone down. And that's a hugely important factor to notice, is that right now we are starting to decrease quite massively how much of the Bitcoin is on the open market. In the previous start of the bull run, we were quite low. So until the supply starts to turn around, we're just going to continue to go up and up and up. So keep that in mind. Nice. I appreciate all your guys' support. Thank you. Jerome Washington says, Arcane Bear, could you talk about the profit taking a bit for people that are on high leverage? How to phase out so you decrease margin, you can just hodl profits? That's a much different conversation. Really, you have to be following your own strategy, because they're very, let's say, it's a schism-based trade. You're someone else's risk versus how much margin there is. There's no straight answer for that. So I can't answer that. Do you take the stock to flow model at all? No, not really, although it does represent a pretty unique process in price. And even though, see, the stock to flow model would be totally irrelevant if there wasn't demand for Bitcoin. So it doesn't in any way, shape, or form take into account demand. So that's a difficult one, because how can you calculate demand? It's a non-existent feature and function of human consciousness. We don't yet know. So really, I think this is probably one of the best ways, is using the liquid supply chain. So I check on this every day, and I share it with you guys. And again, here you can see all the green is when supply started to come into the market. And the supply that started to come into the market has only been decreasing since the bull market started here in March 11th, effectively. Yes, there is a way to find out how much Bitcoin has been lost. I believe it's around 4 million Bitcoin lost in the trash dumps of history. How many Bitcoin are lost by chain analysis? I think they're the company that does this stuff. Tens of billions of worth of Bitcoin have been locked by people who forgot their key. Of the existing 18.5 million Bitcoin, around 20%, currently worth 140 billion, currently are lost forever. And I believe that's around 4 million. Oh yeah, 4 million Bitcoin, there it is, by chain analysis. Here, this one, 3.79 million Bitcoin may be lost forever. So currently the biggest holder of Bitcoin is the trash dumps and the lost history of the human mind. So keep that. It's always a funny one. Could you show the supply for ETH? That's going to cost you. No, yeah, of course I will. So for both Ethereum and Bitcoin, we can actually look at, well, we can't look at the liquid supply because it doesn't exist for Ethereum at the moment. As it is mining new Ethereum at the moments. What we can do, yes, Alex, we are 5/12ths of the way into the bull market. Maybe we're like 5.12 of the way into the bull market. So here we are looking at exchange balance stacked, and what we actually want to look at is just exchange balance percent. It's a much cleaner chart. If we scroll in here, you can see the opposing factors of the previous bull market as supply started to drop, price started to go up. And as soon as we started to see a price go down and massive distribution of Ethereum from the previous all-time high, supply started to come onto the market and price started to go down dramatically. And again, if we look a little bit closer into Ethereum's price here, as the price has been going up, we've had a crossover where the supply has been decreasing on a day-over-day basis by approximately 0.1% per day. Are you vegan? No, I'm mostly vegetarian, but every now and then I love eating a steak that I cook on the fire. Like a peppercorn steak with sauteed mushrooms is like one of my favorite fucking meals to make. Jay MMA says, I like your attitude. Well, I like your attitude as well, Jay. Thanks for the support. Quasar Sword says, I'm taking your advice, friend. I don't give advice, just a heads up. I just share my opinion. So please remember that none of this is financial advice. For now, I'm just accumulating and watching. Hopefully, I'll be ready to play my next bull run. Again, I had a really great conversation with one of our private bear members this morning. I'm not going to name him, but he bought Ethereum at the all-time high, at least last time, at $1,400. And he did something that takes a lot of guts. And I'm going to tell you, he continued to buy as the price went down. He bought all the way into the selling climax at $80, and he continued to accumulate more Ethereum as the price went down and down. That type of conviction in a bull market and into a bear market is extremely powerful and very potent, because one of the things that happens most of the time, and we'll go back to our other Ethereum chart here to look at, is it USDT? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so he bought Ethereum like up here, right, at $1,400. And he had to watch the price go down day over day. But he's like, you know what? I believe in what I invested in. So he's like, I buy more here. I bought more here. I bought more here. I bought more here. I bought more here. And that takes a lot of balls. A lot of the times people don't have that type of conviction because it's a big risk to take when the price is going down. But that's generally when the best time to accumulate is when you see the downward pressure. Now, because we're so early on in the bull market, I'm still accumulating. But once we start to see blow off tops, it's going to be a big changeover in composition of that. So we can see as we get closer to these things. Well, look, guys, this Binance sucks. I can't believe they produced that PDF the other day. But look, see how you have a decreasing supply and increasing price. That is so important to recognize. That's one of the key indicators of a bull market: decreasing supply, increasing price. This is how we know that we're in the midst of the bull market run. So ignore anyone else that says otherwise, because they don't know what they're talking about. But good on those people who can just accumulate all the way to the top and then all the way to the bottom and be patient. Because again, some of the world's best investors are dead because they filled their portfolio and then they never touched it again. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's where this idea of hodl comes from. It's actually an age-old adage to some degree of just keep building your portfolio. Now, if you get to a point where you have life-changing gains and there's stuff you need to do, like pay for your family's health care, or you want to pay off the debt for your house, invest more money into your business, definitely fucking do that, because that is just always a smart idea. You need to focus on building business products and services that provide value to the community. That's what I do. I own a ginger tonic company. Arcane Bear is now like a company. I can't believe that. And it was just supposed to be a pet project where I talked about DMT and BTC. Now it's an actual company, which is crazy. But again, when we provide something valuable to you guys, and I didn't really mean for it to be that way. I was just trying to do something entertaining for myself by making videos for YouTube. But every day we got further and further into this, you guys kept telling me, we find this really valuable. Please keep doing it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll listen to you guys, because that's kind of the way we pay our karmic debt. And the way we generate more revenue is by producing something valuable for each other. So don't forget that. Not just building a portfolio, but actually becoming maybe an entrepreneur, or maybe you want to make clothes or sunscreen. I've got friends that make hot sauce. Be an adventurous person. Try some new things out. Jerome Washington says, Arcane Bear, I did the same thing. I longed to ETH and beat when it looked like it was going to dump twice. And all the losses I got from buying 42 and one for made I 4x my account in 2 weeks. Great work, Jerome. It's risky, but well played. What is the supply indicator that looks like a volume one? This is the volume profile. It's part of the pro account only. You can go to arcanebear.com/pro and get or trading view and get yourself a discount if you'd like. What should I know before joining the private group? I wouldn't think so much about it. That's what you should know. Don't think so much. Give it a shot. We have a no questions asked refund guarantee. And out of the like 690 people that are in there, I think we've only had 5 people that asked for a refund. We'll just give it to you. I don't give. Not happy. Like take your money back. Like get out of here. Guys get tons of value from joining the private group. So keep that in mind. Okay, I think this was a great episode today. I think we're probably almost an hour into this. So lastly, guys, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content. I want to thank you all for joining us on this episode. It means the world to me that we can still do this so many years later and have another new bull market to enjoy. Again, aside from that crazy price spike this morning, we were rising on declining volume, which was nice to see. But I definitely think schematic 3 now, just as a finalization, is what we're going to witness. I was wrong, but hey, all for the better, because this actually is a much better reaccumulation schematic and is significantly more powerful. Again, it's always studying, always learning. And from that, we'll just leave you guys off for the rest of the shows. Yeah, we'll see you guys on tomorrow's episode as we go live every day at around 1 to 3 or 5 or 6 p.m. But we will go live every day. Oh, you guys want some music? Okay, I will do that as well. I've got the guitar not kind of tuned, but just shittily tuned. So no, I don't even want to do it just because I know when to pick it up, it's going to sound bad. You want it to sound good because I'm good at playing the guitar. And the other flute isn't working right now, and the clarinet doesn't have its reed in it. The cello needs to be restringed. Both my guitars need to be restringed. This is like the flute or the oud is pretty much the only option that I have right now. Jameson in the house. One of my great Costa Rican friends here, an amazing guitarist. I bet you his guitars are all in tune right now. Jameson, bring me a guitar. Everyone wants to listen to some music. Martin Corey says, guys, the best investment right now you can make is to enroll in the Arcane Bear private group. It's $45 a month, not 30. You might have got a deal there, Martin. Congratulations on hitting in early. I love your cricket music. Thank you. Play some tablet. The tablets are not in tune either. Nothing's in tune right now. We'll go with the flute because it's always in tune. Okay, guys. So just so you know, before all this started, I loved music. I played music all the time. It was what I thought I was going to do for a living. I toured around as a jazz musician. I played in a few different groups, and I started playing the drum kit predominantly. But I fell in love with all music. So for those of you, if you have a love, definitely pursue that. I still play quite frequently, although during a bull market, apparently I can't keep my guitars in tune. Oh no, a bull market, the blessing and the curse. But we'll leave. This is a beautiful native flute. You can pick one up. Company called High Spirits. I've had this for over a decade, and it is still a beautiful instrument. So if you've ever thought about wanting to venture into the music sector, grab yourself something that's easy to play. We'll leave that. Yeah, most of the private den guys is all done on Discord, but you sign up through the website. We used to manage it on the website, but during a bull market it's impossible to keep the website updated at the speed at which the conversation moves. So everything goes on Discord. All of our private members' resources are uploaded to the website and then accessed through Discord and the private trading resources area. Okay. Thank you guys, it's Tio with the Arcane Bear. I love that you guys enjoying the end of the episode here with a little bit of music. A little bit of native flute for you. We'll see you on the other side. Bam.